This draft strategy includes a number of different elements to it, which we will highlight for you, some of them tonight. I did want to flag for you that we are in the process over the course of the next several months of refining some of the overall goals and milestones for the Chesapeake Bay cleanup, and this is an area in particular that we will be very interested in some of your comments on.
One of the big efforts we need is getting technical assistance out to local communities. It's fine to have the science and to know what impacts are going to occur, but the real on the ground, what we need to do with sediment and erosion control regulations, what needs to happen with protecting vulnerable coastlines, wastewater treatment plants, and other infrastructure that's located very close to the coastlines, and the guidance that's needed for improving those things to adapt this area.
In general, it's easier to protect areas that have unique beauty to them and richness to them than it is to restore these areas. So protection has to be a priority.
And we're going to need farmers in the industry to ask and help us collect this data. As you know, we will protect that data because USDA is under privacy issues with the Farm Bill that requires us to protect that data. So we are going to work on a process starting today to figure out how to do that and get this baseline correct, because the Bay model wants it to be correct.
I know that there's a recent piece of legislation that's been trying to get passed called the No Child Left Inside piece of legislation. And is there a way that we can push that forward while looking at this draft?
That is our K through 12 focused education to get students out of the classroom and have what working with EPA, meaningful watershed education experience, so that students in urban, suburban, rural areas are getting outside. They are not left inside through some of the education policies that are in place now.
We already are sort of the bar for trying to do what is best for the Chesapeake Bay. It's the other stakeholders who aren't here in Maryland that I'm most concerned about, actually, those upstream from us, so to speak. We are the outflow. So I'd like to be sure that in this federal approach that they are brought to the table. They are required to do their part.
Your point is a very good one. As we go forward, we have to be very conscious of the economic implications of what we're doing. But I also just wanted to point out that a lot of these water bodies are all very unique. And here in the Chesapeake, we are both blessed and cursed with a water body that is very shallow and very sensitive to nutrients.
You mentioned that you worked with the state agencies in Gettysburg Bay, and you brought out volunteer conservation work. What commitment, resource-wise, are they putting forward to this in the future? What do you see them?
The reality of today's economy and resources at federal, state levels is something that we have to bring to our work, and it has to be part of our equation for how we're ultimately deliver on the goals for the people of the watershed. Having said that, we are fortunate in this state to have some real leaders in our congressional delegation. And Senator Murkowski, for example, was very active involved in getting increased funds for the Chesapeake Bay, which we in fact are in turn delivering to the states.
I said, because at the end of the day, bringing more power over here is going to allow for major growth, and more people demand more power, and it's a never-ending cycle. I said, if we lose the farms here, we're going to lose the Chesapeake Bay in its entirety in the near future, the next 20 years. And he said, yeah, that's a distinct possibility. I said, then for God's sakes, why do you want to even entertain it? And he didn't say anything to me.
And then Fred Pomeroy of Cambridge. As a Chesapeake waterman, I have seen the bay's resources vanish within my lifetime. Voluntary efforts to clean up the bay have been too little, too late. We must act now before all of the bay's resources vanish and our way of life is lost.
What's going to work? What's going to satisfy that I don't have a discharge? Unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure which one, when our poultry farms were designed, they were designed to move water away from the production area. And we know in this area, we have a lot of ditches. So the water moves off my farm to a ditch.
We haven't yet decided, of course, where we're going to even propose this regulation as to what will constitute a CAFO, what specifically these land application requirements might be. To the extent that you give us some ideas on that, that would be most helpful.
There should be some way to reduce overfishing that's going on, but I know to the chagrin of many oyster people in the know, I'm totally against any kind of harvesting of oysters completely.
We feel that the coordinated strategy, the EPA's coordinated strategy for response to the presidential order, executive order, will not be sufficient to achieve the water quality goals, and that stronger controls on terrestrial sources of nitrogen, phosphorus, sediments, and toxics have to be achieved in order to end up with a bay that's clean enough to reach the goals that we've all been talking about.
The more that you all can think specifically about what would be the appropriate ways to approach minimum standards, performance elements for the land application that are consistent with some of these scientific recommendations we heard up here, the better off.